pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to need a motion to recess from the regular meeting to conduct the public hearing for the district-wide safety plan and code of conduct.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. Do you need a motion to go into public hearing, or you're fine? Okay. All right. So we have the code of conduct and district-wide safety plan, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Loomis.
Sure. So the code of conduct, you're going to see some, well, actually a lot of small changes throughout that document, mostly to add context to a lot of the sections in there. Sometimes it's expanding on examples, other times it's getting very specific. But all those changes are in there just so that it reflects what our current practice is. A good example is the minimum period of suspension. We changed that from a 5-day minimum for a violent act to 1 day. That gives us a lot of flexibility to better address the behaviors we see. Because prior to that, it was 5 days no matter what. And when you have something that absolute in a situation that is anything but that, you run into some interesting situations that we work through on a case-by-case scenario. We'll still do that, but now be in alignment with the code of conduct. Another bigger change you might see is in the prohibited spectator conduct. We did add vaping devices, electronic cigarettes. So that is also something now that when a spectator comes to our campus, that will be something that will be prohibited. And those are two of the biggest changes. Like I said, a lot of it throughout that document is just better reflecting what we do by just adding some context and better descriptors based on whatever section's out there. So, if you have any questions, let me know. I think a lot of the changes are pretty straightforward, though.
All right. And Mr. Robinson for the district-wide safety plan?
Yep. There were very few changes to the safety plan. I can almost name them. One was where Corey found the wrong phone number for my extension. It was actually listed as the Dean of Students extension. The other one was she changed, Corey found both of them, notifying individuals via school messenger. We removed school messenger and just put online platform so that if we make any changes in the future, which we are planning to, we won't have to change the plan again. So that's really it. I think actually we added Melanie Hector's name maybe to a couple positions, and we put TBD for board members and a couple other locations until you're on our safety committee. And that was it.
All right. So the public comment period will run for 30 days, correct? So if anybody has any public comments, they can reach out to the district clerk at cfrainer@waltoncsd.org or by calling 607-865-4116, extension 6130. All right. And we will return to the regular meeting. We have
We need a resolution.
oh, sorry. Yes, do we
So
have a
moved.
motion? Thank you. Second?
Second.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we have the approval of the minutes from June 7th. If there are no comments or questions on them, do we have a motion to accept them as submitted?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And then the approval of the CSE, CPSE recommendations.
I would move those.
Second?
Mm-hmm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And now we are up to student recognition. Once again, Mr. Loomis.
Yeah, joining us tonight, we have Emma Yaklis, our valedictorian. Our salutatorian, Christina Ritter, looks like she didn't make it tonight. Yeah, Emma's our valedictorian from class 2022.
Congratulations.
What are your future plans?
I want to go into music, major in music, and after that I'm not quite sure.
Good.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
Don't rush that.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, well deserved. I know you put in a lot of hard work. Thank your parents as well for their support for you, and I had the honors of watching you a couple of weeks ago now for the music awards. Very nice. Thank you. Very nice. So congratulations, and thanks for attending. We won't make you sit here all night to watch the rest of the meeting, so if you want to leave, you're more than welcome.
We don't want you to
Pressure
feel like
time.
it's a punishment.
Yeah.
Thank you for
So,
having me.
congratulations.
Congratulations, well deserved. All right, no public
Very
comment?
talented young lady.
Yes. All right, we are up to presentations, the Smart Schools Bond Act.
All right, it's time for our second Smart Schools Bond Act. And if everyone remembers back in 2016-17, we made some major changes to the infrastructure and everything else here at Walton. So since then, we'll just jump in. We have 2 slides, technology vision and goals. I think each of you have your packets. I really don't want to go through these one by one, but I'll hit the first 2 of these since we saw them earlier today. Student achievement, enhance student learning through the integration of technology across all curriculum areas, improve and enhance instructional programs by ensuring that support resources equal to the needs of added technology initiatives and programs, and reading those 2, mostly because of what you just saw over in the ag department with the virtual welding machine, the loo last time you guys went over to Townsend to see that. We're trying to add a lot of the makerspace that Mr. Hoover's led the way at middle school. We're really moving towards a hands-on approach where the kids are doing things and learning at the same time and enjoying themselves. That's really a goal that Dr. McDonald's been pushing. That's given us a lot of leeway. We've gotten a lot of additional funds through grants and stuff that's given us the opportunity to put these in classrooms and common areas. So I think we're adding a makerspace to Townsend. We've already purchased some equipment for that. We're going to keep pushing forward next year for that. So that's a huge area that the Smart Bonds is really allowing us to do, because we're spending that money on infrastructure and safety and security additions, and then our other money, whether it's local, BT, or otherwise, can be pushed to these more projects that our kids can enjoy and learn at the same time. So back in 2000, well, what is Smart Schools? Purpose is to improve learning and opportunity for public and non-public students. Our allocation was $1,168,536. Now, that money can be spent in 4 categories. Construct, enhance, modernize education facilities to accommodate pre-kindergarten programs, provide an instructional space to replace classroom trailers. We don't really have classroom trailers up here, but many actual locations do. Install high-speed broadband and wireless internet connectivity for schools and community. Install high-tech security features in school buildings and on school campuses, including but not limited to video surveillance, emergency notification systems, and physical access controls. We spent a lot of our money on number 3, and you'll see that in just a second. Acquire learning technology equipment or facilities. So 3 and 4, you'll see back in 2016, where did we spend our money? Well, we spend it on infrastructure and security. So the majority of it, purchased what you're seeing here: servers, switches, uninterrupted power supplies. At the time, we really had no reliable Wi-Fi in any of the buildings here. Now it's hard to find a spot where you don't have 3 to 5 bars. Chromebooks, interactive panels. We almost have 100% coverage in interactive panels right now. I think we're missing about 15 to 17 rooms. Those are usually the smaller classrooms, such as reading classrooms. What is it? AIS.
Yeah, reading AS, speech.
Yep.
OT.
So we're going to hit those July 1st and forward. Now, security enhancements. It says upgrade video surveillance, but it's a completely new video surveillance system. It's a new door access control system, the swipe system, and we installed the Cisco phone system, which also we incorporated with the emergency notification system for our lockdowns and lockouts. So that's where the majority of that money was spent. Now here's a breakdown of that. We spent 226, or we estimated 226 for Chromebooks, the Mac Lab, these interactive panels. 54,000 was our infrastructure, and 617 was for the door access, Cisco, and the video surveillance. Now, that was estimated to be 897. We actually only spent 750 859. That's not common these days. Today we'll estimate it at 897, it might come in at 997. So over the next couple of years, it'll be interesting to see how those numbers work out. Working with Meg, who suggested instead of just doing a one-year plan, which is what I was gonna come here with tonight, she said, well, why don't you come up with a plan to spend the remaining $409,000 over 2 or 3 years, give one presentation, and then we'll slowly break it out in the next 3 years. Which we can do, and that's what we've decided to go, that route. So it's pretty much mirrors the one in 2016. You'll see again, we're gonna redo our switches, our UPSs, uninterrupted power supplies. We're gonna continue to redo the older access points for Wi-Fi. We need 900 Chromebooks here, so we're gonna continue to purchase Chromebooks, interactive panels for those remaining rooms. Now for the security enhancements, we don't have to replace the entire systems. The majority of them are done, but all the servers need to be replaced. Each one of these servers is $15,000 to $20,000. So we're gonna replace the servers for Cisco, for the videos, and for our camera system, as well as start replacing phones. We have 20 to 30 video phones for the offices, which I think we all love having. It really gives you that one-to-one, you see each other's reactions when you're talking, and the other phones for all the classrooms. So that's what we're going to concentrate on for 2023, 2025, and we'll lay it out that better for you in the future. Here's the estimated cost. We have $250,000 for Chromebooks and smart panels, $59,000 for our infrastructure, and then $100,000 for all of these security enhancements, for a total of $409,000. And that should set us up for probably the next 8 or 10 years. So we should be good. And that's really it. Is there any questions?
How many Chromebooks are you getting?
We need about 900 from K through 12, as well as a couple of Chromebook cards for testing and whatnot. Each Chromebook is anywhere from $275 to $350 right now.
And we have a cycle of replacement, though. It's not 900. It's
No. So we prepared a 10-year replacement plan when COVID hit. That replacement plan went out the window
yeah,
because we had to purchase about 300, 400 Chromebooks, which was $250,000. And we recreated a plan. Actually, just last week I was notified we received funding for $71,000 for the Emergency Connectivity Fund. They're going to pay for 200 Chromebooks. We can place the order July 1st. Meg helped me with that. So we're covered probably for the next 5 to 7 years. But this is going to help with that replacement cycle because we replace probably on average 175 to 200 a year. Now at $300 each, that's quite a bit of money. The interactive panels, we first started putting them out in 2016-17. They're going to start needing to be replaced. So that's where a lot of that money is. We think they're going to last between 7 and 9 years. But to be honest with you, they were a brand new product at the time. So we don't know. But we're at year, 6. I'm starting to see, we should start seeing some issues. But we have the money to replace them. And that's the important thing. Because now that the teachers are used to having them, we can't take it away from them. They're using it well. They've been trained on them. So we need to keep them in the classrooms.
So the school connectivity, like I'm thinking, the wires and everything are already run, but this is more than that.
Yes, this is mostly for, say, the access points that we originally bought in 2016 are going to be 8 years old in 2 years. So there's new wireless wavelengths that are being put into place. There's new controllers that run those access points. So right now we probably need about half of those to be replaced next year. Now we do get E-rate funding on that. So how this works is E-rate covers 85% of the charge for anything infrastructure-wise. Well, smart bonds will pay the other 15%. So between the two, we're not paying anything. So, but you have to include that in your plan.
Okay.
So we've included $59,000 that one's going to be a server, so we don't get anything back on that. But the rest will be E-rate covered or smart schools covered.
Any other questions?
I mean, we're in a very good spot right now where everything is relatively new and working, but in 3 years, we're not sure. As long as we keep updating, we'll be in a good spot. But we don't want to be where we were in 2016, where We let things go for 15 years and then you need $1 million to redo everything. That's what we're trying to prevent.
Right.
Good.
Especially with the new grants and funding that we have access to.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are up to discussion items. We have a lot. Graduation, please arrive no later than 9:30 if you plan on attending. By the high school office again? Meet there?
Yeah,
Yeah, well, yeah.
Is that-
Students, we obviously they're gonna be going down B wing.
right, for the board, for
For the
myself.
board, right.
Okay. UPK enrollment procedure change. Want to touch on that?
Yep, so this evening, you have for your consideration, a movement from 2 half-day classrooms to 2 full-day classrooms, which we'll talk about actually in a minute with the curriculum committee report out. Along with that concept, one of the things a gap that we have, and is brought to our attention, is if we have the situation where we have 36 seats, right, 18 per classroom, and if we enroll, after all of our residents, 30, and we have 6 open slots, if we have staff members that are non-Walton residents, we can enroll them under the grant as long as we've done our residents first. So I would like to impose and recommend that we look at a procedural change that would allow that after August 1st, that would be the lottery date, because lottery will be done for the residents at that time. If it's already done, and if there's no slots available, there's no slots available. But if there's slots available, and say there's 2 slots and there's 4 staff members, then we do a lottery among the staff members at that point in time. So I offer that for your consideration as just a procedural change.
And do you want to continue on the elementary special education?
So elementary special education classroom 811. Melanie and Deb have had multiple conversations with me throughout the spring as Deb worked through and has worked through the annual review processes. Essentially, and Melanie, please, if I misspeak or you want to add, please go ahead, but I'm going to capture it and then we'll go from there. Our 2 self-contained classrooms at Townsend School are full. We have additional needs, and we've seen this since the pandemic. A lot of emotional and behavioral needs coming in some of our younger children especially. So what has resulted is the classrooms are full, and what with 3 to 4 students who have been placed, or at least one more or 2 more being considered possibly placed with one-to-one aides and then put into the general ed classroom, because rather than a self-contained 811 or 1211, because there's no seats available in our district. And they're not to the level of having to go to a BOCES type placement. So they're caught in between. When you think of, there's 2 things. When you think of the instructional practice, their need is a self-contained classroom, not a general ed classroom with a one-to-one aid. That's what their need is. If you don't place a student where their need is, we're shortchanging the student, 1, and we're causing potentially a decrease in the effectiveness of our gen ed classroom by having a student who is misplaced. Funding wise, when you've got one-to-ones that are attached, that significantly reduces the overall cost of what a 811 classroom would be. It's 8 students to 1 teacher to 1 aide. So if you've got 3 aides, you got 1 aide that's going to shift by cost. You've got 2 aides. If you take those 2 aides cost, that offsets majority, if not all, of a teacher cost. So from a financial standpoint, which is not the premise of it, right? I talked about it from the need of the students and the student care first, but in the instructional side, but from the financial standpoint too, it just makes sense for us. It's more efficient, more effective. So that's here this evening. I don't believe there's not a motion or anything needed that way. I'm just looking for a nod, a blessing, because we're ready to advertise and see if we can find yet another special education teacher. That's going to be the real work. So did I capture that okay?
You did great.
Okay, that's good. Well, I've heard about it for 3 months, so.
Very thorough.
Listening.
I do, see, active listening, I do listen. So any thoughts on that? Like, any concerns?
That's what our kids need, proceed.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
Want to make sure they're getting the right services.
And as long as we're
Absolutely.
addressing changes, the UPK thing sounds fine too. I don't know if you need a vote on that or anything.
I'd like to have a blessing on that as well with the procedural change. It's gonna take some work on our part, but we'll get it done.
Do we have that
I'm
in here?
fine with it.
It's, that procedural change is not in this.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
absolutely.
No?
Huh? I'm sorry. We don't need the procedural changes not in the, to vote on.
Okay,
Just a
So,
nod.
yeah.
just need another
Oh.
blessing.
Okay, we're good on both?
Yep.
Okay, let's get that advertisement tomorrow. We have work to do. Okay.
You know any teachers?
Recruitment night coming up.
Yeah.
Policy committee. Who would like to do the honors there? Recap?
Sir Paul. Because Sir Kevin's not here, so.
I don't have my minutes from that.
If you click on the link, it'll take you to the chart.
I'm not in the join the meeting thing.
Oh, well,
Sorry.
Okay, hold on.
I tried to get in there. I don't have the option.
I got it.
You can't throw that like lifesavers.
I would, but then Mr. Robinson would be upset with me.
901?
Yeah, 901 order.
Yeah, we discussed, we had the benefit of Tracy Williams here to discuss some of the transportation, the regulation in terms of kind of the transportation with students under COVID and how we have to have some structure around the busing and things like that with regard to like a regular schedule, what would be allowed for like variances from or deviations from that standard schedule. So that was policy 8410R. Transportations of students regulation. Also utilization of computer resources and data management, computer use in instruction, so acceptable use for online instruction and whether or not parents also have to sign with students some forms around how those things are going to be used. And then we also do have to update some policies, 1400 public complaints, 1405 complaints about certain federally funded programs, 2160 Code of Ethics for all district personnel, 2330 executive sessions, 4810 teaching about controversial issues, 6880 internal audit function. I really would have worn my glasses if I had known I was going to have to do this. Off my game. Adam's over there just relishing this. He's like, this is just awesome. And we do have some mandated policy, actually, with regard to graduation ceremonies that we're going to bring forward as a first read.
okay.
I think you did a fine job.
You
Sorry.
wouldn't say if you didn't. Which I appreciate.
Joe, mind me leading?
Nope. Curriculum committee. I was not able to attend. I apologize. Would you like to give that report?
Sure. It was it was a very full meeting. We had Mrs. West and Mrs. Evans here to do a presentation on illustrative math, which is right now a pilot program in the 2nd grade. To me, it was a very interesting way of teaching math. Seems very exciting in the classroom. Rather than doing worksheets, they are much more collaborative, lot more hands-on. So that was a very good presentation. Excited to be moving K through 8 in that direction. So it'll be rolled out to all those grade levels, and it'll be taught one type of math that way. And I think it'll be a good thing for our students. Then we talked about the language arts. So we had a presentation about CKLA and letters, and due to the pandemic, some teachers had to have some refresher courses there. And if I'm missing anything, just chime in. And also all three principals gave us presentations about the upcoming summer programs. So we're going to have offering some really good programs for our students, the ones that need it academically, in just that little bit of extra help in elementary school and in the middle school. And also, originally the BOCES program, we were going to be busing our high school students to BOCES. That has changed because of lack of teacher interest. So we do have Walton teachers that are willing to teach our students here, which is good that we have teachers that are willing to support our students that need that extra help to get them through the summer. Let's see, the Fast Bridge assessment. So there are charts attached to our curriculum committee meeting in the library if you want to take a look at those. But I think basically what I saw from that was we have seen improvements between fall and spring as far as our language arts are concerned. So that is a good thing. I know that, you know, with everything we've had in the last 2 years with COVID, just to see any kind of improvements with our students is positive as far as I'm concerned. Then we talked about our plan for 2023-2024, basically changes to our schedule and some new electives that are going to be offered in the middle school and high school. So basically having a little bit lower enrollment, I think can be a positive because it opens up some slots for teachers to add new things in, things like 8th grade art and creative writing in the middle school. Also adding to the multimedia arts, which I think is really an impressive and great program. Anything we can offer a little more hands-on to get the kids, you know, not just in the regular classroom setting, but doing those hands-on things at a young age, I think will engage our students a lot more. We talked about the UPK full day program, that proposal, which we just touched on, and work-based learning stipend position, which I think is a great opportunity for our students to go out into the community, work with businesses, and just to see what opportunities are out there, to see what they want to do after high school. If they want to go to college or if they want to go into the workforce, there are things to keep them here in our community. And then we talked about the paper tutorial program. This one, to me, I don't think it's getting as much use as we would like it to get. There are some, I guess, some teachers that have supported it, you know, in certain areas. And there are some students that have used it numerous times, but just for the cost, that's something we're going to have to think about. That's something we want to continue with in the future. Right now, it's being paid for through some of our lost learning funds, but if it comes out of our budget, then that's something we're going to have to take a hard look at, and if it's really being utilized the way we want it to be. So.
Just to touch on that and the work-based learning, if I could. The paper, we're contracting through this coming year, so we have a full year of utilization, so we won't stop midstream. But this fall, as we go into enter into budget season, into that mid-year, that is when we really need to see a tremendous spike. I think it was 167 learning sessions or something of that nature, I believe, with this one, and then 40-some essays. So when we look at it, not only per session, but even per student cost, and we look at the overall, with the learning loss, it made sense for us to take a swing at this, especially coming out of pandemic. But this is a $50,000 tutorial program annually. So to put that money into the budget up front, and then to get the BOCES 8 back at the back end of it for the following year, we're talking about a heck of an investment. So the company knows. We've had a meeting, and we have another meeting this summer with a strategy for the fall, so we can make sure that we're not shortchanging the benefit that this could bring, and that we're doing our part to make sure that students understand and parents understand what is there for their accessibility. It is a terrific product. The students who have learned it have seen the benefit, and teachers as well. So we're going to make sure we're doing our part so we can get a terrific look at it. But It's gonna be a stretch. I mean, with that kind of funding, we all
Right.
know that impact, it's gonna have to really show us something. You
Well,
know,
seeing the fast bridges and seeing that data and seeing where our students are and that, you know, we are definitely in need of improvement. Even though we've seen improvement, and I think that a lot has to do with getting back in the classroom.
Yep.
You know, that helped tremendously. But there's help out there. You know, we've got, you know, the paper, you know, we've got to push that, you know, to get the students to feel comfortable using it. And, you know, maybe if they need help signing on and we can help them with that.
and then the other thing that we have to consider is, when we get down that road, we see the utilization of that, and we see what the cost would be in the funding going forward with it. You take that and you go, okay, well, is there a parallel direction for us? Is there an enhanced academic after-school program that would cost us the same amount or less per year?
That we, right.
That if we funded that and had one-to-one or had small group instruction from instructors, would, you know, so there's a lot for us to talk
Right.
about. And we'll analyze and unpack it and bring that forward in the fall.
What grades are currently served by paper?
4 through 12, potentially 3rd through 12 next year. Each student 24/7 access. Some of the accesses were at 9:30 on a Friday night, which is
Clearly
awesome.
elementary.
Work-based learning, just to recap on that, that is a stipend position that we have built into Title IV. Title IV funds for next year, and I am 4,000, 4 or 4,200. Essentially, what that would be is a position for an individual to be the connective tissue, so to speak, between our counselors, our school student services department, and administrators with the business and industry. Setting up shadows, working off of, we have a number of students, I know high school, to speak for you, but you did an assessment on this course outlined this year for internships, correct?
Yeah, we left it just open, internships, and our interest was about 25.
So we've got 25 students looking for opportunity, and who knows in what areas of interest. This would be a person to help go out there and find those places that may be willing to take on those interns and to develop that. So an extension of our ability, where shadowing, presentations, they come in and do mock interviews or you know, presentations to our students going on field trips. Who knows? We don't know where it'll go growing wise, but it's a good step in the right direction, and especially be under Title IV. I just wanted to add a little bit to that. And I have one overall comment to make, if I could. One of the things that we really need to keep in mind, and when we talk about, you know, we're having our staff appreciation luncheon this week, we talk about just specifically our instructional teachers and aides. Everybody's done a phenomenal job when it came out of the pandemic. We've talked about it at length. But our teachers started down the road of letters in CKLA, and then the pandemic struck. And then they came out of the pandemic, and we were neck deep in it, and we could not stop as a district. We had to continue. And they stepped up and they continued. Masks on in the auditorium, being trained in the middle of summer, it didn't make a difference. They went forward. The next gen standards that are hitting this year, I think, is when that first roll is hitting, that we have to be aligned. It's very important for the district to move forward, as well as the fact that, remember, the ELA curriculum was discontinued, journeys.
All right.
In the middle of that, we also had a math issue. That curriculum was discontinued, and we need alignment to next gen standards as well. So not only did they have the pandemic coming back, students were off, we had all the behaviors, everything associated with it, SEL, new initiatives in CKLA, new initiatives in letters. Then they got hit with, okay, now we have to go down and we got to start choosing a math curriculum. They advocated to Mrs. Hoover at the time, can we please postpone? Is there any way? She went out to the company. We were able to obtain one more year's worth of material. We pushed off math for a year, but it didn't stop the committee work. The committee started midway through the year and started exploring it. And then this year, as described here, went through this whole year with the description that Tammy just reviewed. And we had a selection. So for the first time, that math-wise, K through 8 is going to be aligned for the first time ever, which is very exciting for a math guy. That's very exciting. But my comment is meant to say, we really need to understand what these teachers have done in the last 3 years. Where a lot of school districts were coming out of the pandemic and working on just teaching and teaching a curriculum they're in, our folks were not only doing that, but we're also addressing major changes and overhauls to curriculum in a major amount of time in trainings. So I think it's very important to recognize that. And now we have, you know, CKLA, we have letters flying with this update, and with this blessing tonight, we will be ordering the math curriculum July 1 or tomorrow, the new math curriculum.
Doesn't have to wait till July 1.
July 1, we'll be ordering the
Does not
math
have to wait
curriculum.
till
Oh, does not have to wait,
Yes,
good.
it is. We're gonna use learning loss funds, so.
Right.
So, I mean, there's the summer programs, papers.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
There's stuff out there for our students to try to get caught up on, you know, whatever they need assistance with,
Yep.
extra help.
In terms of electives, I was looking through some of the offerings, and I know that we went through this, a few years ago when first got on the board. We had some electives where people expressed interest in them, and then they were kind of, when we looked at kind of class rosters and things, we saw that, you know, it was requiring an instructional staff member there, but there may only be 3 students in a classroom or something like that. So it wasn't the best utilization of our resources. How are we going to make sure that if we decide to move forward, that there is that if a student's indicating an interest, that there's a level of commitment? So when we're allocating resources, instructional resources, that those are
Better serving all of our students and not just,
Middle school's a little different because the interest is they're kind of placed there. That's what's offered in their schedule. So it's not as
Well, we do-
individualized.
We
as
did though
much,
do
right?
a survey to see,
Right.
so.
But your numbers are going to
So
be.
we actually had a few other electives that teachers were interested in teaching that never made it to that stage because there was not a lot of kids interested in doing it. So the ones that were on that kind of report there that we talked about at the curriculum advisory committee thingy, was ones that the teacher was interested in teaching, and there was 15 to 20 minimum students interested in taking it. Now, not all of them will be able to fit it in their schedule,
Right.
but the interest is there.
Right. So middle school's a little bit different because they have limited slots. So it's a little bit different.
In the high school, if we have a situation like that, like we have 3 students signed up for this elective, but that's not enough for us to actually go forward and offer it. What we sometimes do is we take a look at an online course that could provide similar type of instruction, like Apex Learning or something like that, that the student could still get the content they wanted, but even though it wasn't enough for us to actually move forward with it as an offering. Outside of that, are keeping those options on our course selection sheets, so that every year when we do go through and see what the students are interested in, parallel that with a conversation with the teachers to see what they're interested in. And if you know somebody's had a conversation with you about that particular class, maybe approach them and say, hey, I had 3 students with this last year. Do you know anyone else who would want to possibly join if we could offer this? And that process really, I think, is the best way for us in the high school to keep offering the most current courses that students are interested in.
And in terms of how curriculum is developed, are these courses that you can grab something off the shelf like Disney Story Exploration, or is that something that has to be developed by instructional staff?
That elective is, I think, Mr. Hoover's.
Yeah.
But a lot of the electives, it's a combination of teacher experience, maybe best practice in that area. For something like that course where you're talking about writing, pulling from the English department and saying, hey, I got another opportunity here for your students to practice writing. What are some things you want us to reinforce in that elective? So, it is really a combination of efforts.
Depending on the course, sometimes it is individualized and grown from the ground up. We've had some of those in the past, and sometimes it's a combination. Sometimes it's an elective that comes in that is not necessarily, you take a tech elective, going out and you're finding the material to supplement in the system development.
Mhm.
So it really depends on what resources are out.
No, I just wasn't sure because it's specific, Disney and things like that, so the stuff. So I wasn't sure if that's something that would be coming in from the outside or what.
Do you have a number, a minimum number in the electives to where you consider not offering?
Right around 5, we start to have a conversation, because what happens is that enrollment is projected on when a student sits down in the spring before their semester 2 classes are finalized, and they say, I want to take this course. But that means that we're going to try and fit that in based on the assumption that they pass all those semester 2 courses. Sometimes that doesn't always happen. So we could have this enrollment at 5, go through the summer, get to fall, realize, okay, we're actually down to 3. So at 5, we start to take a look at who has signed up. Are they in jeopardy with some of their current courses that could potentially leave them not able to take the elective in the fall? So we would just have to monitor at that point when we get to 5 and go from there.
Thank you.
All right, good. Facilities Committee, we will have a meeting on Thursday, June 30th at 5 p.m. Mark your calendars for that one. And then the 22-23 committees, the advisory committees, look over what committee you may want to switch to. If you have an interest for something else, please let Corey know, because we need to have these set for our July 5th meeting. For instance, curriculum, if somebody wants to hop onto that committee, I can get off that committee. I think I'm on 3, right now, so. Yeah.
Looking for more free time, Rhonda?
So if
All right.
anybody, is interested, and just let Corey know, and then we can pull it together and, see if we have too many on one, we can jockey it around, but yeah, whatever your interests are. All right, New York State School Boards Association Annual Conference. That's going to be held October 27th through the 29th in Syracuse. We need to let Corey know by July 5th because of the registration opening. I, for one, would like to attend that one. We haven't gone in the last couple of years, and I find it beneficial. If there's anybody else that is interested, we need to let her know as soon as possible because those rooms will go quickly. And we don't believe that it's going to be held virtually this year, correct?
Correct.
All right. And then with that in mind, if we do attend the conference, we will probably forego the retreat in the summer if we have enough people that will attend conference. And that'll be a little bit of a savings there. So let us know on that, what your availability is.
And in that case too, just to keep in mind, if you forego the retreat per se, and if there's a topic that comes up, a legal topic or such, throughout the year that you then change your mind and want to have, an educational session on that, we can easily put that together any point in the year.
Right.
So just keep that in mind as well.
Have our attorneys
Give
do
us some
that.
flexibility.
Yep. Correspondence. Brian was coming this evening. Wasn't, huh? New York State School Board's Area 8 representative, currently held by Brian Latourette, and he has approached the Board of Education for his continued support for that position. And I believe we will have an approval in here. Correct. Yes. And then we have the Community Eligibility Provision, CEP. Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, we received word from our food service department, from Connie, that we were approved. I believe this is for four more years, 3 more years of free lunch, breakfast and lunch for all of our students. So this is a terrific notification.
And there are forms that they will have to fill out again? Will there be applications that the parents will have to fill out once again?
We will continue to do our free and reduced lunch forms
Okay.
that we need to do, not necessarily due to this per se, but we need to have it as
For
a
the other
school district
data.
for other data and
Yeah.
for other reporting mechanisms that drives funding in other areas.
So it's still important to have those forms filled out. It's
Very,
not,
very important.
even though the meals are
Yep.
free.
And we will be still sending them home to everybody in the summer.
All right, are there any additions to the agenda?
There are not.
All right. And then we have the consent agenda, and on the consent agenda, I would like to pull the the soccer program merger from the consent agenda. We have the financial reports, the transfer of funds, disposing of the records, declared surplus, and we have certified class of 2022. Accept a memorandum of agreement for the retiree employee Donna Beers. Approve the wrestling merger. We have personnel resignation, Michelle Castle and Emily Patterson. We have the unpaid leave of absence for Dawn Shanahan and Nancy Schmidt. And then we have the summer appointments, the summer part-time food service, summer substitute summer part-time food service, summer part-time custodial, substitute summer part-time custodial, high school summer school instructors, high school summer school teacher aides, and middle school summer tutor and mentors. And then we have the appointments for the substitute, Julie Bennett, substitute bus driver, Tina Saglabini, long-term substitute teacher, and Nancy Saglabini, long-term substitute teacher. And I believe that is all of them. Yes. A motion to accept the consent agenda less I for the soccer.
Motion.
Second,
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, and it's been a while since we pulled something. Did we?
I did it while you were reading
Okay.
everything.
All right.
Are we going to discuss that at a later date?
Yes. We can do that now, or do you want to wait till the end, Corey? So where do you have that? Okay, we will do that now. The reason why I pulled that is so we can have further discussion on that. As you know, Dr. McDonald had brought that forward, and they were going to have a parent informational meeting, which they held. And then we received a little bit of feedback, and I just personally felt that we should give it a little bit more time so we can look into the feedback that we received and just double check the data and make sure that, you know, we're not overlooking anything and that we're taking everything into consideration. And I sent that out to everybody as soon as I received it, so I don't know as if everybody has had time to.
I read it. It was very thorough, and I
Yeah.
understand the concerns. I was at the parent meeting, and I mean, I heard the concerns of the travel. That was the main concern that I heard from there. And moving from the Delaware to the Mac League was the primary parental concern that I heard. That I mean, I actually had someone say, if we were not moving, this would be a no. Basically, I would totally support this. Basically, that was the main concern that I heard from there. My concern is that the future of the program, if we don't do something, is my concern. I don't know if there is the option to stay in the MAC. Maybe that's something that can be researched. Is there the option to only do varsity? Is
Right.
that another concern? Another thing that we can consider?
And when we sat here and discussed it, I thought that it didn't seem like staying in the MAC was off the table. It just was that the MAC could absorb the loss of a team. It was that the Delaware League may not be able to. So I don't know necessarily how all of that works, but if that's a hang up for our parent, I mean, obviously I understand the future of the program, the sustainability, and you know, the development, the athletic development. If you pull a very young player up to play with juniors and seniors, well, they're only as good as the, you know,
Their ability.
yeah. So it's not necessarily going to make your juniors and seniors better, depending on the level of talent that that person has. Obviously, we talked about the depth of bench, you know, having to play very short-handed on a very large field and things like that. It was a very thoughtful letter. There was a lot of data in there that, unfortunately, I got it at work today, and I got a text that said, read it. So I read it on a very small screen. I don't know, but
I didn't have time to research it on my
Right,
own,
so-
you know, to counter it,
so I think exploring if that's a major hangup of parents, the travel time, which I completely understand, all of these elements, I know that if we're going to be doing this, we have to do it thoughtfully, and we have to incorporate, you know, not let parents make the decision, but guide the decision, and accept some of their input and explore it to determine what the best opportunity
And
is.
is there a compromise,
Right.
you know, with the two, so.
Right,
So-
because it wasn't just travel, there was also coaching styles, methodologies, communication
correct.
down, stuff like that.
Which
that-
we talked about the last meeting,
Right,
was there's gonna be work that needed to be done administratively, if the decision was made between the programs to make sure that the meshing was there, make sure that the protocols were in place for communication, who was the lead, who had the decision-making, all of those types of things to be worked out over the summer before August began. Our issue is we don't have many options of a partner when it comes to soccer. We just don't, not near us close enough that we can transport to the daily practices.
Yeah, in my mind, we basically have two. We have
And they are-
Downsville and we have Delhi. And
Correct.
basically mileage wise. And I mean, if we're concerned about busing our athletes,
Well, just to
10
make the
10 to 15,
practices
yeah,
work.
for
That's
practices,
all that you can
exactly.
do.
You're talking
Yeah.
10 to 15 miles
Correct.
maximum is all you can do.
And
And so-
Delhi has fine numbers, they are not in jeopardy with their program. Downsville, frankly, is not going to leave the Delaware League. If we want a partnership with Downsville, it has to be Delaware League. Some of the compromises that can occur and can work through, one, the trips are only once a year, so each once every other year to some of those trips. Mr. Hoover and I have discussed scheduling options, that the longest trips be done on Friday, Saturdays, so they don't have the instructional impact during the week. The longest trip is Hunter, which is hour 15, I
At
believe.
least, yeah.
Which is not, you know, unheard of in our situation in the past. You know, we've gone as far as Sherburne in the past in different league contests. Track goes as far as,
Well, I mean, winter track, they're close
Yeah,
as
like
one
college.
to
right, what about, and even spring track,
Spring
depending on
track.
the meet,
I mean, they've
invitationals.
had sectional meets in Ithaca.
So it's, you know, it's difficult decisions. The issue is when it comes to mergers, we're in kind of a tight spot here. Franklin's got a partner, Hancock's got a partner, Downsville does not have a partner, they did. They had limited submit at Roscoe. The reason why this has occurred, when it occurred, was the decision was made, if you recall, I think mid-spring, for them to go into their official merger study, which put Downsville without a merger partner. And they identified soccer as a major issue And we parallel that as our proposal stated.
So they can't pair with Roscoe, or we don't
They
want them
can't.
to?
They can't.
Okay,
They're
so
separating.
what I don't get is why they get to have the ultimatum to say we aren't leaving the Delaware League.
Well, and that's my concern, because we don't want our students to lose interest because of that decision, and then we end up funding their team to continue playing, so they have the numbers, but then our players don't get to play, because of loss of interest. Because
but
of the
thing
Delaware
is,
versus the MAC.
We aren't entering into this as a long term.
Right.
This would be a year to year, just like we
Just
do
like
the
the
wrestling.
right.
So if year one, we try it, and there are concerns about the travel or students not participating, then we don't do it again. But from my standpoint, I'm concerned with the fact that basically we have two options of partnering. I have sat on the sidelines for 2 years and watched. I have a male athlete, and I have watched the fact that we do not have subs, and it is a lot to watch those boys run up and down the field and be competitive. They don't want to just be out there running around. They want to be competitive. And so we're kind of stuck. My thing is, I love soccer. My son has played it since he was 6 years old. I would like to have other students have that opportunity. And so, it's not like we're entering into a long term.
But they would still have a varsity team.
We would both,
we would-
if we didn't
for
have a
boys and
merger
girls.
this year.
Correct,
We'd still have a
but
varsity
there's the potential
subs.
that for boys at least, they would not have a modified team.
Girls as well.
And and one of the reasons why I think our team has not been competitive is, like I said the last meeting, 3 years ago, we were in this situation where we moved our 9th graders up and we did not have a modified team.
And we weren't
so
competitive that year either. We went far, but we weren't competitive then either.
But then what that does is that takes away from those 7th and 8th grade students that maybe didn't play from the time that they were 6 years old. 7th and 8th grade is the time that they want to try out sports. Now they don't have a sport to try. So, those are my concerns with not, I hear the fact of, worried about losing interest and the travel and I'm a working mom too, so I get that.
And I would say, I was at the meeting, I had a conflict, I was at the CTE graduation that evening. So, Mr. Hoover and Mrs. Tweedy will have to respond to that, but as far as the number of things that were left as unanswered, it seems to me like this response was the family, the single family, that had questions and concerns that weren't answered that evening. We have not gotten any correspondence from any other parent outside of that night, of the presentation night. There are some very valid points, most of which, if not all, we have discussed and have acknowledged the things that need to occur. And will certainly, if the board chooses to move forward, use that feedback, this is valuable feedback, as well as the things I've already identified by many board members at the last meeting and this meeting, to do everything we can to grow this into the most effective operation and program as we can for this year, to be evaluated for the following year. If not, then we move forward. I will do another reach out to Downsville and say, any chance for a move to the MAC? So I guess my question would be this for the board this evening. 2. 1, will you consider approving it as it stands, where we will play in the Delaware League, taking into account the concerns, doing everything we can, utilizing scheduling to make it work the best as we can to find a middle ground and help our parents the best that we can with travel. Use it for a year, evaluate it. So there's really 3 options. 2, approve it with the stipulation that we approve it only if it's in the MAC League. If it's not in the MAC League, then we go on our own, knowing that very well we will be pulling up students, and more than likely, unless kids come out, you never know what can happen between now and September. If the numbers don't allow, we will not have modified boys and girls, and we'll only have the varsity with kids pulled up. Those are really our three
Well,
options.
And I know what we have the cost for the transportation. And just from what I gathered from the feedback that we received, I mean, they did extensive feedback. I will give them credit.
Mhm.
I didn't have the opportunity to review any of it to say, well, maybe that's not, how it would be. If we were to hold this over until our July 5th, does that give you enough time for us to review with this and ask questions back and forth so we can obtain more information?
Decisions made on July 5th, does that give you enough time athletically with the leagues to pull the schedules around?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. The MAC is, they're working, they waited until our July, or our June meeting, which was a MAC meeting, which I believe was the 9th, so a day or two after our last board meeting.
So that really
do
would be
that.
the
So
only,
they've really, at this point, adjusted what they, one of the possibilities for what they would do with the MAC, their scheduling. It makes it tough because they start losing, and we do also start losing our non-league games, the opportunities for non-league games. So it might work MAC league, but we might be stuck with our 10 MAC games and not be able to fill our other 5 games on that schedule, so.
it would not be an impact in the Delaware League, because that's being
Right.
scheduled regardless.
Okay.
So the only impact would be, they've kind of get us in a holding pattern in the MAC League, not out, because we did not request an official out, but they kind of got it in a holding pattern. So is it insurmountable? I don't believe so.
Okay.
Will it take some work, maybe some pushing?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, our audience is not here. We've always told people, they can contact the board, send your information. With us getting it the day of the meeting, it doesn't give us ample time to really review it and then ask our administration, questions from it. And I feel that they have we should have the opportunity to respond back that this is what we've decided, this is based on our information that we've obtained from both sides to make a sound decision, and then to answer them back as if they were here in the audience. What's the pleasure of the board? I guess
I would table it and with no later of a decision than the July 3rd meeting.
5th.
And I just say that because we were bombarded today. I'm looking it up on my iPhone.
Right.
Trying to counter everything.
And I'm not, I thought it was a lot of data, it was thorough data, but I'm sure that our administrators have worked through a lot of those processes that have been asked, but I don't have the documents in my hand to be able to say, okay, I can make a decision on this. So
Right.
Yep.
I would appreciate if we could make that decision July 5th, if that's possible for everybody.
And just keep in mind the 3 decisions I laid out,
Right.
because those decisions don't change depending on what the decision is made.
Right.
But I don't want to give necessarily an ultimatum back to Down Zone saying we aren't going to participate if if it's not MAC. If we decide to make a decision that steers us to the Delaware League to say, you know what, all of this, we've taken that into consideration, but it makes the most sense for the development of our program long term and the collaboration, between the two. And it is evaluated on a year by year basis, but that was.
And I think you'll see as you have an opportunity, the proposal document that was an administrative document that the board has seen.
Yep.
If you review the administrative document, you'll see that a number of items, if not all the items between that and conversations we've had, have been addressed. With the only outstanding issue that was not is the increased impact of travel, because some of the venues are longer than the current longest trip that our program's taking.
And, right, and I mean, they do have a point here. It
They
does
do.
get them
Absolutely.
home later.
Yep.
How much homework is that individual going to have? Because our students, they normally jockey their schoolwork and their athletics and get usually typically high grades, but we certainly don't want that to impact
So
that as well.
my understanding, like practices, Downsville releases earlier, so they're busing here for practice.
They're busing the modified kids here,
Okay.
those with their coach.
Yep.
They would get here right as our students are dismissed, and the varsity kids would then, those
Load
kids
up.
would load off, they would begin their practicing, our kids load on, varsity programs, they drive over, they get started, so it balances out. One starts earlier, one ends earlier, one starts later, it ends later, so it's the same equivalent practice time.
Stopping a typical practice, latest schedule, so varsity gets done over in Downsville, like what time? I mean, we have a-
Yes.
Right in the document?
They anticipate that at 5 PM, a Walton bus picks up Downsville modified players and transports them to Downsville, then picks up the Walton players and brings them back here.
Right.
So there's still,
Approximately an hour and 45 minutes if everybody got all their stuff together, is on the bus on time and
you're
then
talking,
on the field.
our students being back in Walton 6 o'clock
Yeah,
at the
that's
latest.
what I've been thinking,
Yeah.
because
So
that
we,
bus
we
gets,
practice, we're typically, the impacts from on a day-to-day basis are more than the games, obviously. You know, one game a week is different, especially if you schedule long ones on a weekend or Friday. The day-to-day practice schedule, we typically have a lot of our sports teams practicing well after 6 o'clock.
Yes.
So that's kind of routine, so that's not as much of a concern for me at this point now. If you can work with the scheduling of farther away games, that's the first time I've heard anybody say, hey, we're looking at scheduling longer trips onto a Friday so there's no academic impacts. That's a different scenario than what I had in my head. If you're taking a Tuesday night, and you're going real late, some basketball games are like that. So we have that too, but so balance that out. I know you guys have this stuff in hand and documented. I just want to put them side by side and say, all these issues are addressed. We get feedback back out. We have one set of feedback to pretty much answer at this point. So
I
make a decision
did
based on that.
respond to the individuals, let them know that we received it,
Okay,
and thank
good.
them for giving us their thoughts and concerns.
So, I'll say to everybody, as you look over the documents and if, whatever questions or concerns arise, CC us all on it. So with a question to Dr. McDonald, and then we might be answering our own questions by then, doing that. And then be prepared to come back July 5th with a recommendation. All right.
Do we have to do all 4 teams?
Well,
that's actually interesting, you know, that's something that I was thinking about this morning. Because right now, I think at both Downsville and here, our modified programs, the ones in danger of not happening.
Right.
But that's also probably the kids you don't want on buses going to some of these further trips.
so the question would be, if the modified kids were left in their age and skill appropriate program and not pulled up to varsity, would those numbers support their own team this year in both schools to allow for varsity only merger?
And pull your
Correct.
friends in.
Can I see that document, please,
Good with it.
before we move on?
Sorry. The one that we did.
Proposal? Yep.
I think the girls were at 14 or 9.
Downsville with the boy, with the joint department of varsity player of 12 athletes, Walton would have a varsity team of 14, modified program of 8. That's if we don't join together. Combined teams would keep 2 8th, 9th graders at the modified level of Walton, making a combined varsity team 30 as 18 from DCS and 12 from WCS. The modified program team of 22 would be 12 from DCS and 10 from WCS. So there's your answer, is if we had varsity only, there would be 10 in the modified program from Walton. Now again, maybe we'll have more kids that are interested, but we haven't seen it happen. We've had drop-offs more than add-ons. And then 12 at Downsville in their program. So it'd be 10 to fill the team. which would again give you the subbing issues,
Yeah,
but
no.
potentially
Or
squeeze
11.
through if you've got
Maybe
enough
11.
that are there. So, and that's the other pieces. We may be a bigger school, which we are, much bigger enrollment wise, but when it comes to the soccer program, they're providing more of the numbers than we're providing at this point in time. Now, interest could grow and flourish. I mean, programs start working well and things grow, this could change over time, but
And we have
consistently in
had
the last
some
3 or
years,
4
I mean,
years.
it's almost cyclical, because you've seen some
Correct.
years where the football program, I mean, it's feast or
Correct.
famine.
Right,
So
that's gone to, yeah.
it's-
Well, sometimes you just have so many boys and so many male and females in a grade level. You have 2
Right.
grade levels together, and it happens to be that you have low male in both grade
Mhm.
levels, and now all of a sudden you're in trouble when they hit the cohort. It is what it is, absolutely. So those, those are the numbers. We look forward to the discussion and the direction on July 5th, and, we'll let Downsville know our status and that we're at a hold, and we'll go from there.
Alrighty.
Thank you for that discussion.
Okay, new business. To accept donations, we have $1,000 from Larry Regas family to the Larry Says Scholarship, and $1,000 from Chester and Karen Lishaw, I believe, to the Cody Endress Memorial Scholarship. Do we have a motion to accept those generous donations?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. To fund the WESPA contract for 2022-23 school year through the 2024-25 school year. That's a lot, 20 years.
2.
3-year contract. Do we have any questions or concerns? If not, do we have a motion to approve funding that WESPA contract?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, and next we have to fund the transportation policy for 3 years. To take that out to 25.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next we have to approve the non-representative contracts.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. To authorize the transfer of the capital reserve fund, this is $750,000 from the general fund, and that's from the unassigned fund balance to the,
Up to.
or up to, sorry. Yeah, just throw that
2
in there.
very important words.
Yes.
2.
Up to $750,000 from the general fund unassigned fund balance to the district's capital reserve fund as of June 30, 22.
So moved.
2022. I'm having a problem with the 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And then we have the bus lease bid award, and that is to Leonard's Bus Sales. 2 60-passenger buses and 1 31-passenger bus with a wheelchair lift. Do we have a motion to accept that bid?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, next we have the, to nominate the candidate for the New York State School Boards Association Area 8 Representative, Brian Latourette.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Brian does a nice job getting that information out to us. Authorize the UPK program change.
I just have one more question
Sure.
on that, because it turns out I wasn't logged in. When I was, that helps when you want to join the
It's
meeting.
not that
you-
simple.
Note to self.
Yeah, I was earlier, but when I dropped off and came in, I was wondering why I was fighting that. All right, just to be clear, so the board's job, create and oversee a budget, full-day UPK, it's going to require hiring 1 additional teacher, or, okay,
Correct.
all right. So there's going to be utilization of other instructional staff as well, correct?
So, do we have we don't have the proposal attached to this, right? It was in the last meeting.
I just pulled it up from the,
So we will be utilizing, as far as it's built in to the special schedule,
Yes.
okay,
so if that's what you're referring to. So it's built into the special schedule along with the other UPK, but there will be a hiring of a teacher and an aide for that classroom.
okay. And will that put too much on our addition, or on our current resource or whatever, special schedule providers or instructional staff that we would need to hire down the road if we, or they can accommodate that in their current schedule?
Yeah, I have a scheduling committee and they have fitted into the schedule, so we can
Okay.
accommodate it.
So what we're looking at now is just a teacher and an aide,
Yes.
and then we're good, okay.
Yep, as far as the funding goes, yep.
All right,
And if you recall in the proposal, because of the increased funding from the UPK grant, this change actually results in a decrease of the general fund support of the UPK program.
that's what I was looking at that at the bottom where general fund contribution is basically, it's less as a result of the grant and things like that. I just wanted to make sure that our existing students weren't losing access to different things as a result of
Correct.
increasing this,
Yep.
because obviously we want to make sure that we're maintaining, or, whatever the instructional time is for our current students before we go and take on more, so. All right, thank you.
And one other question, now that I'm thinking about that, with all the construction that's going to be going on, we won't have a problem placing them in a classroom at the same time. Okay, good. I
Now-
just
now
thought about that.
What this results in, we have two new classrooms that we just talked about this evening, right? What this results in when we go back and analyze this and analyze for availability of spaces to move the 5th grade, when we start doing that construction, could it make us work a little harder to figure it out?
Right.
Yeah, and could there be some sharing of some smaller spaces or whatnot? We'll be creative, but I do not believe we'll have to displace even with this.
And we talked about the trailers and,
Yeah, we're
like,
not.
I remember
We
when
don't
there used
have
to be
any of
like
them right
trailers
now.
down at
Yeah.
the school,
Right.
yeah, out back
Yep.
where elementary playground where the basketball court is
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Yep.
The goal is to not have any of the classes displayed to the playroom, which is what our option would have been, is to reduce our physical education location to the shared or the auditorium to use that space for multiple classrooms. The goal is to not have to do that. And the goal still is to not have to do that. So we'll do everything we can to not, but we are adding 2 additional programs that are very important. So we'll take whatever that impact is. We'll figure it out.
right. We'll get through this construction.
Yes, we will.
All right.
Starting now.
Any other questions?
I'm looking for it.
All right, so do we have a motion to authorize the UPK program change?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, thank you for that.
Create records management specialty position. And this is $25 per hour, 0.20
So what
the
day
time, so 1 day a week, 12-month employee, right? 1 day a week.
So moved.
Yeah, second?
Second.
Mm-hmm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, and the next one we have create claims auditor stipend position. And this is as a result to bring back the business office functions from DCMO BOCES for our claims auditor. Are there any questions or concerns on that? And this is a $5,000 stipend.
Sure, apparently it's saving us $29,000.
Yeah, I'm hoping that what BOCES quoted was a lot more than just doing the the claims auditing, because I'm in the wrong business. Our salary, I'd give it up here in a heartbeat.
That's what the request of service was for a quote, and that is what was received.
Yeah, that's crazy. So yes, saving.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Gladly.
Opposed? Carried. And to approve the 22-23 stipends. Are there any questions or concerns on them? And
Yeah, where is that money coming from, or the amounts, how is that generated?
A number of these, in fact, all of these are in contracts. So they're built into the budget every year as potentially being funded or needing to be funded. There's actually additional stipends in the WTA contract that are not currently utilized in a given year, but all of those need to be funded in the case of utilization.
Seems like a lot of money for some of them.
I could say that most of these are exactly the same as they have been in the past. We did add 2 others that you created. Supervising social worker and the claims auditor were added this year.
right. So the dollar figure has remained the same
Correct.
with the addition of the other 2.
Right.
Um,
Social worker and speech therapist are contractual, they're in WTA contract. The K-12 librarian, if you recall, we're in a little bit of a quandary. We do not have a certified librarian who is on staff. We have an individual who's in that position who was working towards certification. So that is a stipend for Barb Geidel, who is carrying us with her certification until we get this taken care of. And then that will go away when we get the certification taken care of. So that's that one. And then the others have been in existence for quite some time.
And the speech therapist, for each therapist supervised, how many are we looking at? 1 more, 2 more, 10 more?
The supervising speech therapist is one individual who is for each therapist supervised, because they have to, there's a work component and a sign off for licensing component that they individually have to do. It's either, we have only one other speech, how many speech
I
teachers
thought
do
it
we have?
was
Do we have 2?
2.
And then we have, is one of them
One is
Aaron?
certified, yes. Yep.
So we have 2, one of them being Aaron, one is another. So if she supervises one.
So the supervising speech therapist is only supervising one?
One.
And that's $1,000,
Correct.
okay.
And the same thing with the social worker. And we're verifying, again, with the social worker, we're verifying that that is something that we will be doing. We do have the option to have BOCES do it. It'll be a little bit of a higher rate before aid, but we do have that option. So depending on the load and the need of the social worker in a given year, what they have in the schedule, that could go back to BOCES in a given year. But at this time, we're hoping to be able to do it in-house.
And are we doing a separate
And that's only one person as well.
elementary newsletter coordinator? Are we doing a separate newsletter? I know we used to, but are we still continuing with that?
Well, there's a number of items that come out. This is what Patty does for you as far as communications go. There's a number of things that are captured throughout the year and go out based on the work that she does, capturing information as far as photos and such. I don't know if we necessarily do one publication, but if it's assistance with multiple,
So that title may just be out,
it's fluid. Yeah.
dated right now, okay.
Correct. And the question will be, as we transition in the future, whether or not that remains or whether that changes, that word changes. It's something that has to be continually analyzed.
Any other questions? Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the 22-23 stipends?
Motion.
Second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Personnel appointments, we have Deborah Valentine for the records management specialty or specialist, and Ryan Ashlaw to be appointed as dean of student for the district as a teacher on special assignment. Do we have
Up
a-
to 20 some
yes,
days.
yep, with up to 20 summer days per diem. Do we have any questions or concerns?
We currently have a dean of students?
That's right.
Correct. Teacher and special assignment.
He's been in that position. Are we going on a third year? This new year coming up would be a third year.
Years flow together.
Huh?
So all the years flow together.
Yeah, I know, especially with COVID. Do we have a motion to accept those appointments?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, policy update. And these, how would you like to read your policies?
You betcha. This will be a lot easier now. Policy number is 0100, non-discrimination and equal opportunity. 4256.1, internet safety, and number 5300, code of conduct.
And these are to please review on your convenience. And then we have the policy first reading.
Oh, you betcha. Policy number 4526, computer use in instruction, acceptable use policy amendment. Number 2160, code of ethics for all district employees amendment. 2330, executive sessions amendment. 4772, graduation ceremonies. And then we have some regulations that are not board approved. 8410R, transportation of students regulation. 8630.1-R, continuity of operations plan regulation. 8630.1-R, continuity of operations plan regulation linked document. Okay. 8630.2-R, network account management regulation, and 8630.3-R, password complexity regulation. So, and then in policy 2330, yeah.
Will.
The committee decided to use the word shall instead of will or must.
All right.
For
so-
continuity.
It was consistent with all of their other policy revisions, so why not make it?
Right. All right, so do we have a motion to have these as the policies for first reading?
Make a motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We are up to administrators' remarks. I have to say, this is something that when I got on the board, I started fighting for it, and it finally happened, and I'm happy to see it on here again, that driver education is gonna happen.
Yep.
It's nice to see.
We were a little worried
Thank
there
you.
in the beginning. It was
Yes.
what, you were as low as 7, 8?
Well, we weren't pushing it as hard because we didn't have an instructor yet. And once we finally landed that instructor, we filled up our remaining 8 spots very quick.
That was one of those expressions of interest that doesn't always follow through. The one that I was kind of pointing to. And then some years it's been oversubscribed and the driver doesn't come through. So
Right.
yeah, no, glad to have it back because it's important for kids to know how to change a tire, amongst
Not
other things.
Text and drive.
Yes.
And the prom, I heard that was a huge success. Graydon spoke about the candy.
Loved it. Thank you. Great idea.
So that was good.
And UPK by graduation, by the way.
Yes,
Always fun.
So cute.
that was, yeah, that is cute. What are we missing? I already spoke about the graduation. 9:30. Is there any other questions for the administrators? I think this is the first year I missed chalk art. I drove by and I was like, ah! And people had already drove over it.
Yeah,
you
it
know?
goes quickly when they start driving over.
Yes.
Supported.
It's like a rainbow.
But we're not gonna miss the cupcake wars. I did make the track meet though, that was nice, perfect weather for that. Oh, that was wonderful. If there's no other questions, we are up to superintendent remarks.
You know, honestly, I've had enough remarks and discussions and butting in this evening. I was going to discuss and kind of thank our teachers, which already did their curriculum committee, because, putting all this together and having a curriculum committee, it just became very obvious, the work that they've done. We have a number of things that are going on this summer regarding professional development. We have the luxury of having the underneath learning loss with the ARP funds that we've been really able to make a big push in allowing for some development that we have that in the normal budgetary year we might not be able to do. So it's worked out very well for us, and there's a number of people who are stepping up and taking advantage of that to improve their practice and develop various courses and such. So that's another thing we can say is our staff doesn't stop. They keep working, it's been a heck of a couple of years, but it's been a heck of a year. And thank you to the 3 over here as well. This has been a heck of a year all the way around. So my hats off to everybody. It's going to be real fun and nice to see everybody. It seemed to have a real good response on the barbecue, staff barbecue. I think we're going to have a great turnout Thursday at 12:30 to 2:30. So that'd be nice to see everybody and have everybody be able to take some time, and hopefully people have an opportunity to eat together if they choose to, or go back and eat in groups of their select lunch groups or whatever the case may be. So that will be Thursday. So again, anybody's invited who wants to come up just to be nosy or to help or whatever you would like to do. We will be the management team will be
merge too.
Yeah, yep, exactly.
That's nice.
So that'll be on Thursday.
We gonna be able to park?
Don't know.
Yeah.
When everybody
I'll
gets
walk
here,
up, I'll
no.
walk up.
Well, the back
It's
parking
worth it.
lot, there's no, the students aren't here, so we have a lot of spots available in the back parking lot, but we'll see how it goes. And as you can see, we've got work moving at the beginning with construction, which is terrific to see. The electricians are flying through the elementary. I mean, they're moving along every night, multiple rooms and spaces being done with the light switch outs. And it's being done at night and it's not disruptive. Email goes to Ms. Hector from our construction management each day, right? Every day. She's able to tell the teachers so they know. They push the desks away to the outer perimeters for them. They cover their desk with plastic. They take care of it. They go back. We don't think we've had any concerns about in the classrooms the next day. That's worked out very well. That was our concern, was that teachers were gonna come back the next day. Somebody's been in there working, and now their stuff is either unusable or dirty or whatever it was the next day. We haven't had any of those issues, thankfully. On track to hopefully be done, if not by the end of the school year, so next week, or very soon, so O&M can go and start their cleaning, all of them at Townsend, while they come over here and start tearing out the ceilings and the corridors, and then putting the replacement ceilings and lights back in on the inside. And of course, the outside, as you can see, they're already building up the extension of the parking lot. It's wonderful to see. So that's not, considering I wasn't gonna say anything, it's just taking long to get going.
Crank 'em.
Recruitment night too on Thursday.
Yes, recruitment night on Thursday. That's been advertised out both in Reporter and online. Hoping to rebuild our substitute pool. Some of our rosters, food service is good, in good shape, and bus drivers are in good shape, but there's such change and turnover and stuff. So if anybody's interested, to please don't hesitate, come on out. We're gonna have applications there. We're gonna interview right on the spot, and we'll have then we'll do our follow-up, and we'll process people and have them ready for September. So, or sooner, depending on the area of interest. And we're also looking for anybody interested in being an athletic coach in any sport that evening. So anybody's interested, come on up. And if you're curious about any positions, come on up.
Nice.
We'll be there for conversation. So I think the whole management team is planning to be there, I believe. I plan to be there. I'm going to greet everybody else do the work. I'll get to say hello, and
I hope it's a big turnout.
I hope so.
Me too.
It's
Nice.
something that we'll plan on doing maybe even fall and spring. After we get it off the ground, maybe we'll do one in the fall, one in the spring, depending on where it is. But what are our numbers? Anybody know the numbers of subs that you currently have off the top of your head, teaching wise, grade wise?
Middle school, high school shares 4 or 5.
And that used to be 15.
Yeah.
So just to give you a context. So,
And how many open positions do we have, teaching positions? do we have?
oh boy. Well, let's see, UPK, 811, that was tonight,
That's
right?
two.
We have another special in the
Another
elementary.
phys ed.
We have, phys ed. Now, some of these are in progress,
Yep.
in various levels of interviewing. Family, consumer sciences, facts, home ec, that's
Mhm.
very worrisome, very hard to find. School psychologist,
Secondary math.
I said math, did I say math? I said math.
No.
Math. You're good over there, I believe.
Yeah.
So 8,
At least 2 weeks.
yeah, and at least 2 8s. Yep, so, their work is just beginning. So, hopefully, but right now, we're not, school psychologist, special ed, family consumer sciences with home ec, those are 3 very, very difficult positions and to fill. And right behind that are the various science positions and math. And we've got like 90% of all the hardest to find positions open at one time. So, wish us luck.
So Thursday from 5 to 6:30, right? Is that what it was?
Yes, yep.
All right. All right, we have a need to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing matters relating to the future employment of a particular employee. And I would like to ask Mr. Demond if he'd like to join us.
If you want.
All right.
Okay.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a motion to enter exec?
I make the motion.
Second?
Mhm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Is there any action in executive session?
Yeah.